So the biggest thing is in their goals of trying to help you and protect you, they may limit your growth. So the biggest thing is to surround yourself with people and take advice from people who have done what you want to be doing.
Welcome to Trial to Triumph, hosted by Caleb Johnson, the show about leaning into life's constant testing on your way to realizing your biggest blessings.
How's it going, everyone? My name is Caleb Johnson, host of From Trial to Triumph, and I am very excited about our show today. Today we have Sandhya Seshadri, and Sandhya, how are you today?
I'm doing great, Caleb. Thanks so much for having me on your show.
Yeah, thanks for being here. I'm really excited. And can you just go ahead and start with giving our listeners a quick background story about yourself?
Yeah, I'm a Dallas-based apartment investor. I moved here over 3 decades ago, direct from India. And I grew up in India, and I really wanted to come to the United States. But my parents, who were middle class, were only making about $70 a month in salary, and that wasn't enough for me to come over here. And so I had to figure out a way, and that was through a college scholarship. So that's when I took my education very seriously and worked really hard on my grades and tests, and got admission plus a full tuition to attend SMU in Dallas. That's where I moved here, and I did my engineering and got a job right away at a Fortune 500 company. So just like they teach us, you make good grades, you get a job. And into the job, I realized very quickly that all the business folks were making all the decisions and telling us engineers what to do. I was like, I want to think like them. How do they make these decisions? So my company was kind enough to pay for me to get a part-time MBA. So I got my MBA also from the same college, SMU. And while I was doing that, I learned a lot about trading stocks and investments, finance, etc. And I joined several investor clubs and became an active trader in the stock market. So then I got married, I had children, and it made more sense for me to have a lifestyle that's away from corporate. So I went full-time into the stock market trading stocks, which was pretty lucrative. And I realized I was writing a lot of checks to the IRS that I didn't want to, that I had to find a way to reduce my tax burden. And I always wanted to get into real estate, but the problem with single-family rentals was that I did not have a handy person background to do the whole tenants, toilets, trash, termites, fixing a leaky toilet on Thanksgiving Day just wasn't appealing. So I stayed away from it. Also, when I analyzed it, I felt like the margins were only in the range of a few $100s. And for that, I have to take what's called a recourse loan, sign my life away in a mortgage, etc. Just wasn't appealing because I could easily make that money in the stock market and it wouldn't affect anybody else. And I wouldn't have to sign any loans. But then a friend told me about multifamily, about the large scales of multifamily where you could employ a third-party property management company. You could have on-site staff to take care of all of the maintenance issues and leasing and all that. And all I would be doing is as an asset manager. So I attended a weekend event by a mentor, if I can mention his name. It's Brad Sumrock. He's well established in the Dallas area. And so I wanted a mentor where the entire program also had a lot of people doing deals in my market, which is Dallas. And the rest was history. I invested passively the first few times with money that I had saved up from retirement income from my, W-2 job that I had quit. And then I was able to find partners within the group who would take me on as a newbie. And I was their boots on the ground. They were both out of state, so it was a good arrangement for us. COVID hit. I was able to do a lot of the boots on the ground, showing up to the property activities. And so I learned a lot from the experience, and now I'm a lead sponsor. In 2022, I closed over $75 million in assets, across 3 different properties in Dallas, all within a 30-minute drive of my house. So it's been phenomenal. It was the best thing I did was make that investment. I spent a large sum of money to join and pay for a mentoring program, which a lot of people would say, why would you spend that kind of money? But I had zero real estate background, and this is what helped me collapse those time frames and get results quickly. It's like having, your own personal trainer when you want to see those weight loss goals happen quickly, right? How a trainer would push you compared to you try to figure everything out by yourself without the accountability. So that's where I am today, is running assets in the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Wow. And there's very few people that I talk to that have such a extensive background as yourself, and I think that's amazing. And I want to learn coming from a middle class background in India, and my parents are middle class as well, and so we weren't born with a golden spoon in our mouth. And I'd love to learn what that mindset was for you back then, and kind of how that aided you in your success today.
I think the biggest thing you have to ask yourself is, why do you want something and how badly do you want it? And once you want something very, very badly, you'll figure out a way to get there. You'll figure out that maybe a traditional path worked for 2 or 3 different people and none of those paths worked for you. Like for me, right? If I said, my parents, please give me all of your savings. Let me see if I can take that and I'll go get this fabulous degree in the United States. I mean, it just wasn't going to add up. So you have to think differently, right? For you to go exponentially like that, you know this. Just like if you said, I want to be a millionaire before I turn 30, and you have a W-2 job that pays you 30 or 40,000 a year, and you're going to squirrel away 5 or 10% of that every, years, that's not going to get you to the $1 million, right? So you got to do something differently. So for me, it was, okay, who has that kind of money to pay me $10,000 just to go to college? Who's going to do that? Who's going to fund me, right? Okay, it's got to be a scholarship. And so what does it take to get a scholarship? I mean, I wasn't exactly a super A+ student and everything, but I realized, okay, that's what it takes. I got to get good grades, and I got to get 3 good recommendation letters, and I've got to get a very high test score, right? Now you have the formula. So now it's a matter of, am I going to follow the formula? Like, you want to lose 50 pounds, what are you going to do, right? You're going to first probably adopt a very lean diet, right? High protein and salads kind of thing. You're going to work out every day. And you're going to burn more calories than what you take in. And you're going to commit to it. Maybe it's a 75 hard kind of commitment, but you got to commit to it, right? So just like that, there is a formula, right? Whatever it is that you want to achieve, there's probably a formula out there. Question is, how committed are you and how badly do you want it? Then you'll go after it and you'll get it done. And all your excuses will turn into actions instead. Why has to be big enough.
Okay. That's interesting, and I'd love to learn what was your why for wanting to come to the U.S.?
I had an uncle who was already living here in the United States, and I was able to come here one summer as a teen babysitter for him, and I spent a month in and around New Jersey and New York area, and I had never seen anything like it in my entire life. I had never seen such, skyscrapers, the beauty of the streets, the Central Park, you name it. Everything was phenomenal and fascinating. And I said, if there's any way I could get here, I will. I will do anything in my power to even have a little bit longer here. I didn't know if I was going to live here forever, but, I certainly knew that a degree would mean, a few years living here. And then we'll see where that takes us, right? So once you taste it, it's like, okay, I'm going to work hard for this. This is worth it. This is worth giving up all else for a short amount of time at least to achieve it. And that became my why.
Oh, wow. And did you end up starting a family in India and then coming over to the U.S., or did you meet your husband here?
I met my husband here. He also went to the same college. He was going part-time. He already had a job, and I was going full-time. I had an assistantship, etc. And so we met. And then got married, and I stayed here ever since. He was already a U.S. citizen, so that helped. And then I was able to get my green card. I was here on a student visa first.
Okay. And how does, I think, speaking to some people that have come from maybe their family wasn't as wealthy, and so some family members, and I'm speaking from experience, they can have, or they can project limiting beliefs on us, right? If we want to go to achieve something, if we want to go to the U.S., have a better family for ourselves, or a better life for our families, then that's something that we need to do, and that's something that we want to do. But other people will want to limit us, and maybe it just didn't work out for them. And so ultimately they do want to protect us. But I'd love to see if you had experienced that with your family or maybe in business.
Oh, big time, in family and in business, right? Everyone was like, why do you want to move halfway around the world? You don't have anybody there. You don't know anyone there. Why would you want to go, right? So the biggest thing is, in their goals of trying to help you and protect you, they may limit your growth. So the biggest thing is to surround yourself with people and take advice from people who have done what you want to be doing. If I wanted advice on apartment investing, I'm not going to talk to my W-2 engineering colleagues who are still working there full time, right? They don't know what it's like to go out and be an entrepreneur and take these chances and go bold and go do these things. So it's just like, if you hear Tony Robbins unleash the power within kind of things, you've got to find that big motivation within you and let it out. But then you've also got to follow the other one, which is success leaves clues. So go see people who are successful in your field, doing what you want to be doing, and then take the baby steps. And then soon you'll be the one taking those giant steps. And before you know it, you'll be the one on that stage. And there'll be people watching you saying, oh, I want to be just like, him or her. So it is possible. You've got to believe. But, look at the 5 people you spend the most time with in your life. And do you want to be where they are, right? And if you're the smartest person in the room, there's only 2 options. You got to leave the room or you got to be on stage, right? That's it. So look at your life. Look at who are the people you spend time with. Is there that one cool uncle or mentor or professor or somebody who can connect you with the right person who can, make a difference in your life, who can completely change your life? Like my life changed with that one weekend, right? Of listening and being surrounded by 500 people doing this kind of work, right? That's where I needed to be. My neighborhood wasn't going to find me that. Neither was my old engineering job and those colleagues. I had to be in that room at that weekend event where people from all over flew in because this is what they wanted to be doing.
What was that moment for you when you realized that you had to get out of the norm, and you said that this is something that I want to do? And what was that? What happened that made you really realize that?
I think when you realize that what people are achieving or that goal, like in my case, living in the United States was my initial goal, or in this case, I want to be an owner of an apartment building was a goal, right? Well, once you realize that goal is what you want, then you realize, here is the formula. Here's a path for me to get there. Like, this is my gym and this is my personal trainer. Now I know what I need to do to get fit, right? It's the same kind of thing. The mentoring program and that weekend seminar opened the doors to the possibilities of me. I could actually own that large apartment building down the street, which just cost $20 million. And I don't have more than, maybe $20,000, right? And I can still own it. And this is how. And so they teach you the plan. They show you people who've done it. And so you start out like a minion, basically, right? And then you become the group, if you know what I'm talking about, Despicable Me characters. But, you start as an intern. And then you get paid like an intern, but then you'll learn, and then you become the master. You become the boss. You become the director. But you got to believe, and you got to stay focused.
Yeah. And I've also found a great benefit in being in those networking rooms. And I think that's just life-changing, being around people that have what you want to have. And especially it's a huge boost of confidence when you think, there's only got to be 5 people in the world that have this. And then you get in a room of 500 people and it's like, whoa, that is crazy. And I think it can be challenging for people sometimes when they want to find the room that's best suited for them. There's a ton of education courses out there that are free, and then they want you to get in the door, and then you sign up for a 3-day trial that's $100, but you just keep on paying money, and that's what that ultimately is it's just a funnel to draw people in so that they can get them in an education course. But not every education course is like that. And obviously yours wasn't, and it was very beneficial to you. And so my question to you would be, how do you find that right room?
The same way that you would hire a contractor. If you had to do a kitchen remodel in your house and it's going to cost you $50,000, you're probably going to ask around for a few references, right? Did this contractor do a kitchen remodel for you, and did it turn out good, and can I come and see it? Same way, you need to talk to people who've been through whatever that program is. And you have to ask them honestly, what did they have to do? Like, just because you paid, I don't know, 10, 20, 30, 40, $50,000, whatever you paid for that program, it doesn't mean the entire program hands you a deal in a platter. You still have to work your butt off. You're just still a bottom feeder starting at the bottom as a newbie. You got to work your way up. Just because you paid a fee, it's not like a first class ticket. right? So you've got to realize that in most programs, it's what you put into it, it's what you get out of it. So you've got to be willing to work hard. So be realistic. If you're busy with a full-time job and you barely have 30 minutes a day, you're probably not going to see the results, whether it's personal training or, finding that new love of your life or a mentoring program that's going to teach you how to buy an apartment, right? All of them require your time. So, be realistic about your time commitment. Commit to the program in terms of your time and dedication. Figure out your strengths. That's the biggest thing I'll tell you. Figure out what you already like. For me, math strengths was very high, right? I could analyze spreadsheets all day. And I was local Dallas expert, so I could help anyone with deals in Dallas. I could show up to the property and I could tell you anything about the market. You give me an address and I could tell you this is a terrible area to invest. So figure out your strengths and what you have to offer to somebody with experience for them to take you on as a partner or mentor you, etc., right? You've still got to find a way to be useful to them. And you got to go in with that attitude of, look, you're out of state. You don't know this area. You want to get into this area. I'm right here. I'll do all the work. You're still making all the decisions, so your investors are protected. And so that was a good win-win in my case.
Yeah. And forgive my pause, but your mindset is phenomenal. There's not many people that I speak to that have a mindset like you. And I would love to learn where did that come from? Was your dad or your mom really motivational, and did they kind of pour that wisdom into you? Or how did you originally get that?
I think I always looked to do my own path, and I didn't like other people telling me what to do. I grew up with parents who were both in the medical field, and my sister followed their plan. Indians and doctors, I think everybody knows that. There's always a doctor in the family, right? So my parents were doctors, so of course everybody thinks doctors are the smartest people in the room, and then so was my sister. So I was the black sheep of the family. I liked my math. I did not like anything to do with biology. So I was always finding my own way around things. So I think that was in me all along. And I always saw parents as very hardworking, right? My dad, my mom, they worked most of the day. They worked a lot of evenings. They were on call on evenings and weekends. My mom delivered babies. So of course she was on call whenever, right? The babies don't ask you, can I just come on a Monday morning at 10 a.m., And that's not how it works. So I've always been around people who worked hard. So that was always in me, that, you can't, sleep until 11 a.m. every day and hope to get somewhere. And I selectively work hard. I work hard if I'm motivated enough. Like I need to get more motivated to lose more weight. But, I don't always make it to the gym, although I have a paid membership, actually to 2 gyms. So, once you light a fire under you, whatever that is, you'll go after it. And that's what I say is you've got to have a big enough why. And if you don't have a fallback plan, right? It's like if you want to get to the island, right, burn the boats, right? Once you get there, and you have no choice but to make it. So that's what I would tell you is you've got to want it more badly, and you might have to change that circle you're with, because you might be too complacent in where you are with the 5 people around you. And they might all be saying, life is great. Why do you want to change it, right? It's not that life isn't bad now. It's like you could make it so much better, right, in a different way. Like, who would have discovered that this is my 3rd career and I'm doing so well in it, right? I never thought I would have 3 careers in my life, engineering and stocks and now real estate. Who knows what my 4th career is going to be? But if you look at the world, right, you've got all these presidential candidates and you've got, people in the Senate and stuff making huge decisions. And look at how old they are, right? Nobody is like below 50, That means like how many careers can you have? You could keep on going till your 80s and 90s, and we're all living longer thanks to whatever medicines and healthy lifestyles we're all adopting. So you can have numerous careers. Just because you did something before, that doesn't define you. You can completely change it.
You said so many impactful things there, and the one, if I could pick out one, again, there's so many, but just one that is really hitting my heart is that you always wanted to do it on your own and learning, and so that forcing you to be out of the mold and kind of like you said, the black sheep. And it's funny, I spoke with another Filipino, so another person that didn't live in the U.S. but had a rougher background, and so his family, doctors, lawyers, and all that. But the black sheep and investing in real estate, but that's why you're the most successful. But anyway, I'll digress from that. But that is so impactful to want to do it on your own, because I know for me, if I need to learn something, then maybe I'm not good in a classroom, or maybe I'm not good with graphs, and that's okay. So if a teacher wants to teach me a way that I am not going to learn from, then I do need to get out of my box, my comfort zone. And I would just really encourage the listeners to take heed of that. And if you need to get out of the box, out of your own box and out of your comfort zone, then you need to do it and take that step.
Can I tell you a random story that's also about motivation? So one of the things I love is math, and there's a lot of kids in this country who fear math, including my own kids when they go to the classroom, right? They have come back with this fear of, I've got algebra. So I've tutored kids over the last decade for math, and I don't charge them for it. It's a complimentary service I have. And one of the kids I tutored algebra to, he was very busy with his athletics. He had absolutely no time for it. This is high school. You know how busy your extracurricular can be. And so he didn't directly get admission into this college called Texas A&M in the Texas area. It's one of the fantastic engineering colleges. He got into this Blinn, which is like a community college, but it's a path to get into A&M. And that's what he did. He persisted, even though his algebra 2, he was failing that class. I helped him. He ended up with like a B+ in it, but he had the confidence to say, even if you don't make the very highest grades, go pursue what you want. So he went to Blinn, and now he's getting a mechanical engineering degree. He's graduating this year, Texas A&M. He's got a full-time job, and he's already thinking about what he's going to do as an entrepreneur in addition to that job. And I'm so proud of him. And so I don't want people to get defined by whatever grades they get in school. If you love a subject and if you're passionate about something, like he loved to work on cars, for example, right? And so I'm like, why? Nothing is going to stop you from pursuing that. Don't let some silly algebra grade in high school stop you from pursuing your dream. Because I know you're going to be one of the best automobile engineers, etc., in this country. So I don't want you to stop your dreams because of one little class that you've not really had the time to spend on because your extracurriculars are taking so much of your life in high school, So it's just another example of persist, don't give up.
Mm-hmm. And I'm sure he had some people, maybe even some teachers telling him, hey, you're not going to be good at this. Or
Correct.
You can't be an engineer,
Exactly. They did all this strange profiling, and he had to fill out some random thing, some software that spat out like 5 different courses for careers for him. And I just went, you love cars. Just go pursue your engineering. Don't let anybody tell you can't.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? And that's what he is.
Yep.
And it's so exciting to hear that from him.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm telling you.
And what teaching others, I think that's very interesting that you do that. And I think we all have to, it's very important to give. And whatever it is, some people only right now have their time, and that's what they can give. And others are blessed with finances, and that's what they can give too. But for you, what does donating your time and helping students through math or whatever that is, what does that do for your heart, your soul?
I just feel fulfilled. I feel like this is my purpose, ultimately. Everything else is about dollars so that I can have a roof over my head. I can have a car that doesn't break down every day. That's what I earn my living for. And to leave something for my son who's got a little bit of special needs going on. So I don't want him to have that rat race of GPA chasing to get into a college. You know what I'm talking about. But the rest of it is about who can I inspire today to become 10x what they think they can be, right? And that's what gets me all excited. So in apartments that we run, we held community activities on a periodic basis. So every quarter or so, I like to get the community together, which we did in over COVID too. So my apartments, for which I returned like over 3x to investors, we had a delinquency limited to one apartment, less than $1,000 in COVID. Who has that, right? And it's because we have community activities. So like we had free Thanksgiving turkey, we had Easter egg hunt. And then when COVID struck, we were going to have this big picnic outdoors. And instead we gave them goodie bags at their door filled with things like toilet paper and sanitizer, which were a little bit hard to get at that time. What that did, was everybody knew everybody. And we were still like smiling, waving, posting things online. We had an online, costume contest for Halloween instead of an actual trick-or-treating party and stuff. So when people lost their jobs because of COVID and they couldn't pay their rent, our leasing manager sat outdoors in this courtyard, socially distanced with a computer, and helped a lot of people fill out their applications for rent relief. So we got all those rent relief checks coming in, and that's why our delinquency was so low. So if you help build communities, and that's my other dream, right? When I came as a student here, I lived in an apartment, and it was old and was near my school, so that's where I could afford to live. But right by SMU, where I went to college, is this phenomenal neighborhood called Highland Park, right? It's one of the fanciest neighborhoods in Dallas. And I always was like, wow, look at all the amenities people in these neighborhoods enjoy. So I like to bring that cul-de-sac feel to my apartments. And that's why we have so many community activities and we build that. And so what that does in times like a recession is that it improves your retention. So your renewals are higher. And the more renewals you have, the less turn costs you have. So it does financially also have an impact. It's not just a feel-good piece of it. But you can feel good and do good and make money. One doesn't exclude the other. And landlords are heroes. We're not what the news media portrays us to be. So there's my little plug.
I love that. Yeah, that was
landlord.
I loved it. Yep. And one thing that I'm going to pull out for the listeners is that it's business, right?
Okay.
It's exactly what you just said is if you find something or someone that has a need and you fulfill that need, then you can make a profit. And so for you, that was going to those residents that during COVID, which if our listeners aren't familiar with real estate, during COVID, there were eviction moratoriums. So if someone wasn't paying rent, the government would give them a check, and then those tenants usually went out and bought a flat screen TV, and they just blew the money away on things that would benefit them, and they would not pay rent. But what's incredible about Sandhya's story is that in her apartments is that during that time when everyone was having an issue, her buildings weren't having an issue because she was benefiting the residents and she was fulfilling the need that they had. And, ultimately that need, it was really probably just heartfelt, right? They felt that you cared and the ownership cared, the management cared. And so they want to reciprocate that. And that's not the reason that you did it. It might have been part of it. But that ultimately wasn't the reason that you did that. And I think that's so powerful.
Right. Yeah, I mean, everybody deserves to have a clean, comfortable, safe place to live and a beautiful community around them that you create. The best things in life are mostly free, like the parks, the beautiful roads, everything else that I came to love as an immigrant here is still free, You might just have a more polished granite countertop or a stainless steel fridge instead of a basic Formica countertop. But the best part is everything here is so great and you deserve to have a community too, just like a fancy neighborhood. And that's what we're creating in our apartments.
Mm-hmm. And I'd like to just take a little pivot and speaking as a woman in business, there can be some struggles possibly. And I'd love to talk to you about what those struggles have been for you.
So right from the beginning, I loved math. That's, again, I'm more of a male-dominated field. I went into engineering, again, male-dominated field. So I kind of have been used to slowly but surely, as people hear me more and more, they, respect me and they realize, okay, what she's saying, we should probably listen to. She's got a valid point. But I haven't been afraid to, speak up at meetings or, whenever people are much louder than me, I'll just hold up a sign or do something interesting to get noticed. So you've got to, again, find your own way to voice what you have to say. And the wonderful thing about places like Zoom meetings, etc., is there's a chat box. So if they don't let you talk, you can keep typing away in the chat box. And then somebody will be like, oh, she's got a valid point. So you can find your voice. Don't let the fact that, okay, I'm a woman of color and didn't really grow up here. I don't know all the cultural stuff. I'm going to sound like a dumb Indian with a bad accent in my first few weeks, right? And you can go on saying all this negative self-talk to yourself, or you can say, well, guess what? I'm here to learn. I'm here to serve. I'm here to help anybody. And if my accent is funny, okay, let's laugh about it and you tell me how to pronounce the word correctly and we'll go on from there, right? So sometimes you have to be willing to laugh at yourself. And if people don't take it seriously, and as your confidence improves, you say, okay, it's their loss. They don't want to get to know me. It's their loss. I'm going to show them. I'm going to silently show them by buying more and more buildings, or I'm going to silently show them by having better results in sales or whatever it is in your career. And they'll have to notice you. Now, I'm the one who's getting put on stage, right? So you've got to keep doing the positive self-talk to yourself instead of the negative self-talk. And there'll always be at least one or two people in the room who'll be on your side. Don't think the entire room is against you. They're not. There's just one or two people who'll always want to prove themselves to be better than anybody else in the room, right? In any room you walk in. And then there'll be a couple of people who want to help the newbie. So go find them and find your way.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And, I've experienced that kind of, as a younger millennial person in business. And I think, what you said that was so cool was the positive self-talk. And if someone doesn't like you, that's their problem,
Yeah,
You're not the one with the problem. It's their problem.
Yeah.
And that's just so impactful.
It's true. It's their loss. If they don't want to get to know Caleb Johnson, it's their fault. It's their loss. That's too bad. They missed out on this great podcast, right? And look what? I'm in it. I'm one of the cool kids who got invited.
You are one of the cool kids. And even to any of the listeners that are listening to something like that. And I think we all have that, be it at work or business, whatever it is, someone is going to tell you that you can't do something. And it's kind of nice to just don't care what they think, because that's not ultimately, their opinion doesn't matter, right? You're not serving them. And so you just do whatever you're going to do and just work and just keep your head down, and that's all you can do.
So if somebody puts you down or tells you can't do it, it's one, because they're threatened by you, they're envious of you, or they're just clueless on how to do it, so they don't want anybody else to do it and get ahead of them. Whatever it is, it's not worth listening to negative voices. So find your tribe. It may not be in this room. You may have to leave the room, find the next room, and find your tribe. But you will find your tribe. There's always a tribe for you. You'll find them.
Mm-hmm. Praise God.
And then you'll find the rooms with them, and you'll find the conferences with them. And that's where you'll go. I can't really talk a lot of real estate over, a Thanksgiving and Christmas holidays, because my family members don't really understand it. All they understand is a W-2 job and getting a paycheck and, doing a job like a doctor, lawyer, engineer, Indian crowds, right? Well, not many of them understand entrepreneurship and taking chances and making an impact in buildings. So you've got to find your own crowd, wherever that is.
Wow, I love that. And Sandhya, I think we'll have to start winding down here. Unfortunately, I think there's so many more questions that I think I could ask you, but for time's sake, we'll probably start asking the final three. And so the first question would be, if you can recommend a book to our listeners, what would that be?
I would highly recommend Atomic Habits by James Clear. It talks about the incremental effect of doing one positive thing. So 1.01 raised to the power of, exponential. It's a huge difference. By the time you do a tiny little thing, like 10 minutes every day for an entire year, do something. I don't care what it is. Play an instrument, read a book, practice your push-up to perfect posture. Look at the effect of that. Only 10 minutes a day. You will be amazed by yourself. You will be shocked at how far you have come, whatever that thing is.
Mm-hmm. God, that's such a good book. That was such a good book for me as well. So definitely recommend that to the listeners. And Sandhya, if people want to learn more about you and maybe invest with you, where's the best place for them to do that at?
I'm active on LinkedIn as a platform. I also have my website, engineered-capital.com. So engineered-capital.com is my new website, and they're welcome to come there, leave me a message, and we'll go from there.
Fantastic. And the final question would be, if you can share one last thing with our listeners to take away from today's show, what would that be?
Persistence. Whatever your dream is, don't give up on your dreams. You may just need to find a different room, a different group, or a different path to get there.
Simple. I loved it. Well, Sandhya, I really enjoyed this, and thank you for being here. I know I got a lot from this, and I know our listeners have as well, and they will. So thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, and be unstoppable.
All right, everyone. Hope you have a great day, and we'll catch you at the next one. See ya.
It's time to grab your victory. Find us on the web at redseacapitalgroup.com and follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Red Sea Capital Group.